have a lot of folks feeling energized and focused and curious and rushed. I totally understand that, preoccupied. So a lot of interesting words in there. Check that out. Michelle just put, I'm admitting more folks in, there we go. Michelle just put a link in to the slide deck, so feel free to follow along and take a look at the agenda. I have to tell you, I was so energized as well going home yesterday. It's just been so exciting to collaborate with all of our community partners. So Kelsey, why don't we move to the next slide and just acknowledge all of our community partners. We have a lot of fun things in store for you today. You'll be hearing a lot from the Bay Area Discovery Museum. They're going to be doing some really fun activities with you. I think that's smaller. Great. As a reminder, we're using a lot of digital platforms, and we're trying to really model for you very well on how to integrate those into your teaching, so you can really start to think about how to go beyond the restraints of what feels like the computer. So yesterday we did a lot of creative activities. We'll be using Jamboard, of course, Zoom again today. So your facilitators will be, I'm trying to admit people as we go, we'll be cueing you on what to use. Today's schedule, this morning, we will continue to build our community, and we're going to focus on equity and social awareness as our core competency for social emotional learning. So we'll talk more about that. And before we jump right into some of those activities, I'm going to pass it off to Amanda Matea from MCOE to talk a little bit about the norms that we co-created together.
Thanks, Kristen. So yesterday, thank you so much to everyone who completed the norms check-in. It gave us a lot of valuable information. 100% of the people who responded to that survey said that they were comfortable with the norms as is. And then we also received some specific feedback about different ways the norms might be altered. And I think it's a great example of how going back to the norms can further and continue and evolve this conversation, both with ourselves as a community and then also with children. So I won't read through all of the norms, but they're up there on your screen. And every single day we will provide that norms checklist within the morning reflection, so that as you experience different types of tools, different kinds of collaboration with colleagues in small group and in large group, you can continue to reflect about how these norms are working for you and give feedback about potential edits. One thing we're going to do in a minute is just get into some really tiny breakout rooms with a partner and take a minute to reflect and talk about culturally relevant norms. So thinking about, and cultural relevancy when we're thinking about it, a big piece of it is building the trust and connection with students, as well as their intellectual capacity. And then also thinking about how we're addressing our own implicit bias as we're working with students. And so as we're thinking about that intent versus impact piece, I want us to think about a couple of questions. So I want to jump back to the feedback that we got yesterday. So there were a few suggestions that I think would be great for our partner conversations. So we had a suggestion to have a very specific and measurable norm, like keep your video on during Zoom, or adding some language around should we do this for the good of the group, or right time, right place, as well as some concerns about students' access to internet and cameras and how to engage students who don't have the same resources as everyone else. And so when you're with a partner, thinking about those feedback pieces and just thinking about the norms in general, kind of how do you approach making sure that your norms are culturally responsive? And so thinking about what assumptions am I making as a teacher about my own intent with norms, or even my own position. So I loved that, keep your video on during Zoom, because it really is a position about what should be happening. So what assumptions am I making about students or the community with my position or intent? Who might be put at a disadvantage and why? Is my intent really matching the outcome that I want for students or the experience? And then what do I need to modify about that student's experience to build the kind of trust and connection that I want? And so you don't need to be thinking about necessarily or talking about those norms, but I do want to give you just 2 minutes with a partner to kind of think about the norm and discuss that culturally relevant piece in your room. And so, yeah, Sarah, thanks for putting that right away. You know, live video on a cell phone, it takes up a lot of data. It's expensive for parents. We found that with backgrounds as well, that takes up even more bandwidth. So there's a lot of great points to discuss. And so when you see a little pop-up, which you will in a minute, to join a breakout room, please join right away. And if you're floating there by yourself, know that we're working to pair you up with a partner. And if you end up without a partner, just take a couple minutes to reflect on your own in your notebook, and then we'll come back.
Kelsey, Don, and Kristen, do we want to discuss this as well, since it's on the recording and we can speak to our thoughts on the norms in reference to making it culturally, making them culturally relevant? Any ideas?
Sure.
Yeah, it looks like we have a few participants in this room, so if everybody wanted to maybe list one. Kristen, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. You know, it's interesting, especially given our activities yesterday and what we're planning today, the implications around having your camera on are a constant question for me around both as a facilitator, but also as a participant. And I witnessed this with my own third grader last year, really about how to manage that, how to ask to have your camera on. I mean, when you're facilitating or teaching, I mean, you're getting constant feedback from students on from their body language and their eye contact and all of that. And with the camera off, you're missing that. And there are so many larger implications around socioeconomics, around location, around Wi-Fi access. And so I don't really have a there, but I have more questions than answers around that. And it's difficult and tricky, but I don't know how, as a facilitator or an educator, to address it without asking participants to have their cameras on. So I'll leave that there. But I understand the sensitivity and the issues and the challenge around it. But I find it hard. I find it difficult to not ask for that. That's my own bias.
I just want to hop in and ask, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to hop in and make sure. Michelle, did you see my text about messaging people? I was wondering if you could just, I think at this point, maybe let people know they have about 1 minute to finish up, and then we'll just bring people back. And I've set a timer for a minute.
Yeah, Kristen, in response to that, I think I've been thinking a lot about everybody's interactions on chat and when they have specified, we're talking about different modes of engagement, what is the possibility for using some other platforms that don't require live participation, but will still bring student voice back into the conversation in some way, which of course is not the same as teaching to a student, but maybe having, if they can't have their video on, maybe having a simultaneous activity where, like Jamboard, where everybody can add directly to something as a possible alternative, or more actively using chat. Like, I know we've been trying to model what it could look like if we're very attentive to chat, and that's difficult while you're teaching and also trying to respond to what everybody says. But there are solutions, it feels like, just not ones that are easy to manage as a one teacher kind of powerhouse,
Reminds me of differentiated instruction, how we
Yeah.
modify our instruction, modify how we intake information, and it's kind of connected, but it adds complication. Amanda, I'm going to go ahead and close the rooms. Great.
Cut off.
Sorry, we were just getting warmed up.
How about the first speech too? I don't know. You might need to feed it after. I think it's gonna get sucked up. Like maybe let that one pull through, and then add the other one.
I asked them, whoops. That was,
Sorry. I guess it just automatically added us back to the main.
you could still hear me?
I
Can
can still,
everybody hear me?
I can
Oh,
hear
whoops,
you.
okay.
Hi.
Bye.
Welcome back. So I heard someone say that they were just getting warmed up. I think we were too in our conversation. So
Good though.
yeah, it was really great. And so if you would please just take a minute and in the chat, just write something, just one thing that struck you from your conversation or one takeaway you had. So I'm hearing equity of voice. I'm seeing all voices are heard. Yeah, feedback from kids around Zoom norms. I love that. They're coming fast. I love it. So just flexibility, some ideas around role play or redefining what engagement looks like. Yeah, being careful about, I saw one about cosmetic changes and just being careful about that piece. Scaffolding involvement, this is great. Yeah, and absolutely, Alexa, that norms are complicated and there really is no one size fits all. And it's an evolving process. So this is great, yeah. As the comments keep coming in, if you're not able to view them all, what we'll do is capture those and make sure that you get them. So thank you, everybody. And again, like I mentioned earlier, keep thinking about those norms as you go through the different activities and protocols that we have structured for you today. And then if you have a minute to do the morning reflection, go ahead and add that feedback because we will look at it every day and then go back and continue to revise. And so I think I'm going to turn it back over to our colleagues at Youth and Arts.
Awesome. Thanks, Amanda. Actually, one slide back, Kelsey, if you can go one slide back. Great. So really quick, just centering again some of those learning targets and essential questions that we have at the top of each day. Yesterday, we were really focusing on this idea of can I hide or be ignored? And, you know, we're trying to address those certainly through our norms. And I think they're bringing us some really great questions, but also through our activities. And today's learning targets and essential questions are, what's the big idea in the lesson? And how does it connect to what I already know? So with that, before we dive into some social emotional learning and activities, I want to first just ground us again, and with some breath and some touch. And hopefully you did yesterday, you did the mindfulness mindfulness moment that we had for you during the break. We're going to be building on that every single day. That's one of our fantastic mentor artists, Stephanie Bastos. And she will be building out what we call the brain dance. And I'll be talking more on that as we get later in the week. So I'll just leave you with that term right now. But what she did yesterday were these two patterns of movement. It starts with breath and then moves on to touch. So we're just going to do that to warm up today. So if you can just make sure you're in a comfortable seat, you can have your camera on or off for this, however you're comfortable. Sitting up nice and tall, pulling those shoulders up towards your ears, push them back and drop them down. So really elongating your spine. And from there, take a big breath in and let it out. One more time, big breath in. Let it out. And for this third time, take a hand to your abdomen and or to your chest as well. So you can really feel your whole core inflate with air. Big breath in. Hold it. Exhale. Let's get some hands going, some warmth going. I saw in our words this morning, some folks felt chilly. So really get some warmth going. Get it going faster, 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 and then let it float. And let's just start with some easy brushing. So wherever you are on your seat, we're using touch, tactile to wake up the body, the sense of touch. Don't forget the lower body. We're sitting a lot, so really use hands all the way down to your feet if you can reach, or as far as you'd like to go. Also, don't forget your back and your neck. And after some brush, maybe some gentle massage, whatever feels good this morning for you. So really just using touch to wake up. I'm always reminded that in doing touch and tactile as part of the brain dance, that students often respond to this differently. And some students have a lot of touch from family, hugs and things like that, and others don't. So this always is an opportunity to invite students to take care of their own body. Great. And coming back to neutral and back to your computer, and we will continue to build on that this week. All right, so moving on. That was a very, very quick physical warm-up, but here we go. So we are focusing every morning, we're going to be touching on social emotional learning through arts learning specifically. Yesterday we did self-awareness, so we really asked this big question, who am I, which was very layered, especially when you're talking about digital learning and this idea of self-perception. Today we're going to be focusing on social awareness. We can go to the next slide. When we're talking about social awareness, we're talking about perspective taking, empathy, appreciating diversity, respect for others, individual connected to the collective, and of course our community. This is a big question as we look towards building community or a classroom community on a digital platform. So it's a lot of what we're talking about. We're going to explore this a little bit through our activities coming up. So for this activity, I want to reflect back to something we did yesterday. We can move to the next slide, Kelsey. We talked about gesture, and Indy introduced us to this. Gesture being a movement, large or small, that conveys meaning. I want to reflect back to that. We did sort of two gestures yesterday, or two movements that convey meaning. We did one that was about us, and we did one that was connected to our metaphor, that was inspired by nature. So I'd like you to think about yours and pick one of those. You could also create a new gesture if you like. You'll see later our word cloud, when you had to put the one word into the word cloud, you could create a gesture around that as well. So you have some options about picking your gesture. I'm actually going to steal one from Kelsey. I remember her gesture was this. So I'm going to use that gesture for today for my activity. Okay. And in a moment, we're going to put you into a group. So as we're talking about social awareness, we're going to plant you right into a small community, 4 or 5 people. And I like to call this activity, we can go to the next slide, gesture accumulation. So to accumulate, to grow, to add to stack, we're going to do that with our gestures. But in this sense, we want you to, actually, can you go back? Thank you. No, go back one slide. Thank you. When you're in your groups, we're going to ask you to pass your gesture around, and your group mates, your community, are going to have a chance to modify it. When you're thinking as a choreographer, modification means to change it. So you might expand the movement. You might make it much bigger. You might diminish it. You might make it much smaller. You might change the tempo and speed it up. You might slow it way down. You might transpose it, which means to put it into a different body part. So let me describe or explain and show. So I had Kelsey's movement. I had Kelsey's gesture. So that might be one. Kelsey would show it to the group. And then we would decide as a group who gets to be number 2 and who goes next in the accumulation. That person would then change the movement. So now I'm going to take her movement and I'm going to change it. So I've expanded and I've changed the structure of the movement. Then I pass it to the next person, and as a group, you decide who goes next. The next person may decide to stand, and again, it's a choice on how you access your space around you. So perhaps the person stands, and then it really changes the feeling of the movement. So now I'm changing levels, I'm changing tempo a bit, and then I might change completely. It might change to something that looks a little bit different on how I interpret it. So maybe now we have something completely different. I've changed to fists, I've changed the direction of the movement. And so then as a group, you can explore everybody's gesture, add to it, accumulate the movement, modify the movement. And then we'll come back into the main room and we'll share. What will we share? That's what we want you to negotiate as a group. You could share one person's movement. You could say, oh, we really loved Kelsey's movement. We're going to share that all the way through. We're just going to share her movement and how we modified it 4 times. Or we're going to share all 4 movements and all 4 modifications. You can decide. So there's a lot of choice in this activity, but the idea is experiment, see everybody's gesture, modify it, and react to that modification. On the slides, which the link is in the chat, you can go to the next slide, Kelsey, are the directions. So if you need to review the directions, please feel free to go back. You'll have 5 minutes to do this. Again, remember you can choose a gesture, and again, fake it till you make it. So if you don't remember your gestures from yesterday, you can totally make up a new gesture. I just gave you a bunch right there. You can do whatever you'd like. All right, so Michelle's gonna put you in the breakout groups. Enjoy, get the body moving, and enjoy being together in a community.
Kristen, remind me how many people in this breakout room?
4 to 5.
Great.
Have fun choreographing, everybody. Great. Do we have everybody in rooms mostly?
Mostly, but Eileen is going to bring back her group to the main room. So if you want to go into a room, that's great.
Okay.
Okay, then, did they come back?
Yeah.
All right, I don't see you because some other people are in here. Holy
Right.
smokes, how come they're not in rooms? All right, okay, well,
We can't see gallery view because the slides are still up.
yeah, I
Oh,
see
there we
that.
go.
Okay, click valid, okay, all right. Okay, so let's go ahead and start our activity. So who wants to get us started?
I'll start with
Okay,
my
thanks,
movement
Molly.
from yesterday.
Yeah, go ahead.
Only because I remember it now. So
Okay,
so it was this, the kind of ebb and flow back and forth.
okay. And then who do you want to pass it to?
Well, I will pass it to Stacy because she's right next to me on my screen.
Okay, what do you want to do to it, Stacy?
I want it to move up and down.
Okay.
Oh,
That's nice.
okay.
So it's moving, but it's also moving up and down.
Down.
Okay. Can I give it to you, Eileen, or
Sure.
do I give
I'll
it back?
take it. No, I'll take it. This is hard for me, so I'm just gonna be honest. And I think I'm gonna take it, and so you know how you go up? I'm gonna go up and around so that I kind of get like a full body. Yeah, I'm gonna go up and around. Oh, that feels good. It's almost like a stretch, right? I like it. I like it. Okay.
This is our
there
morning
anybody-
Tai Chi.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I like it. Now, it looks like there's a couple of other people in the room. Karen, do you want to play with us? We can't hear you. You have to unclick.
She's muted.
She's muted. Can you, oh, there you go. So do you want to take the movement and change it?
I'm sorry. I think I will just observe right now. I have something else that needs my
Okay.
attention.
All right. You're allowed to observe. If there's anybody else that wants to play with us, they can. Is there anybody else in here that wants to play? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Oh, Michelle does. Yes. Okay. What do you want to do to it, Michelle?
Okay, so we're gonna go the other way now.
Oh, wait a second. Yeah. Okay. I got
Okay.
it.
I went this, and then
Yeah.
up and down,
Okay, and then what? What do we do
and
now?
then around,
Whoa.
and then back the other way. Ooh, that's nice.
That feels
Nice
good, doesn't
stretching
it?
this morning. It does.
So then we have to decide when we go back, do we want to do all of them? Do we want to do the ending one? What do you want to do, team?
Well,
I like
aren't
the
you all-
evolution.
Yeah, but aren't we supposed to do everybody's movements?
We get to choose for ourselves. Good morning, Marnie.
Right,
Um,
but as this small group, we should do everybody's and then decide what we want to do.
Okay, so then let's start again with you and we'll alter it because it's hard for me. I'm not as physical. You start and then we'll see if we can remember it all. Go
Okay.
ahead, start. So you went like this, okay?
And then we went up, right?
And then
This is what
Stacy
Stacy
took
had.
it up, okay,
Up and down.
up and down.
And then you took
Okay.
it around.
And then I went around, whoa.
And then Michelle brought it
the
back the
opposite
other
way.
direction.
Oh, nice. That actually feels really good, doesn't it?
Yep.
Okay, let's try it one more time because we still have more time. Michelle, do you need to tell
But-
people like 1 more minute or anything?
No, but aren't we all supposed to do everybody's movements from yesterday?
No, you're creating your own movement, whatever you want, and we're just experimenting with
Okay.
taking the movement and altering it so that we feel. So, like, what does it feel like
Right,
to
no,
have
I
yours?
understand. I totally understand that piece, but I thought we were supposed to do that with everybody's movements from yesterday. Like
Oh
then
no, it didn't
Stacy
have to
should
be
show,
connected. It didn't have to be connected from yesterday.
but I thought everybody shared an initial movement and then people altered it. Okay. I didn't realize it
Oh,
was just
I
one.
see
wanted-
what you're saying. I got
wanted
it. I got
everybody-
it.
I wanted everybody
Okay.
to have their own
Okay.
movement to start with.
I got it. Okay, Stacy, what's
Okay.
your movement? You do a brand new movement. I see.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Molly.
There you go. I don't know if that's what we're supposed to do,
I'm a
but
little
that's what it was in
slow.
my brain.
No, let's
So.
do it. What's your movement, Stacy?
My movement was, well, it was kind of a full body thing. So like I
Let's
was
see
on
it.
the ground and then I came up and then I expanded.
Oh, I
Okay.
like it. Let's all do it.
Okay.
On the
Move my
ground.
chair.
Come up. Ooh, I like it.
Another
Okay.
stretch.
Yeah.
Okay, and then somebody needs to alter that.
So maybe I could alter it and just make it teeny tiny.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
it was big, right? It was a big movement. So then make it teeny tiny.
Yeah, okay. I like it.
It was this, was Stacy's.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Right.
And
this,
then this, when it's tamale, how do you want to change it,
and
Michelle?
it's like, oh boy. Like,
Oh, she's gonna add her shoulders into it. Okay. All right. Okay, that works. Whew. Okay, then I'll take yours and go backwards. Is it time to come back, Kristen?
we have
Yeah. Yes.
We got a
Probably,
minute.
let's give them one more minute. Yeah.
All right, well, we're working in here. We're altering things.
Ah, I
Okay.
love it.
All right, Molly, should we start? Okay, so Stacy, you start us and we'll go through yours again. So let's start with yours.
Okay.
Okay, so we go down. We come
Up.
up. Okay. And then Molly, you
Little.
made it little. Okay.
And
And then Michelle added the shoulders to it. And then we reversed it.
Oh,
Oh, okay. All right. That was good.
good job, everyone.
Thank you, team.
That's
That was good.
That's great. Now, if you were asked to share, could you pick which version or what you would like to share out of what you created?
Molly?
I don't care.
I think
Which
we
one?
could do Molly's
Okay.
progression. It really flowed, I think.
Okay,
Okay.
Stacy, I'm with you. Okay, yes, I think we know what we could do. Do you have the music though? We would clearly need music.
I absolutely have music.
Okay.
And would that group, would your group one be, would you be willing to share with the group, with the larger group?
Of course.
Awesome. Thank you.
Stacy? Yeah.
Thank you. Stacy? Yeah, okay. Thank you, you guys. Because I'm not sure we'll be able to do everyone. So hopefully
Okay.
we'll. Welcome back, everybody. Do we have everyone? Michelle, yes, you think we're all back? Awesome. Awesome. So that was a little bit of a choose your own adventure, I know. I'd love, and we're going to reflect a little bit more after we do Kelsey's activity in a moment about the group dynamics and the conversation, the communication, and the negotiation that had to happen in that very short time. But before that, let's enjoy some of the dance making that happened. So I was able to pop into group one that was in the main room, and they are such great sports. They've volunteered to share their masterpiece. So they're going to do that now. So like yesterday, it's a little bit of an experiment. I'm going to play some music, but could we all, if you're not in that group one, could everybody turn their cameras off except for that group? I will as well. And just give me a moment. And when you hear the music, oops, there we go. When you hear the music, that will be your cue to begin. Nice. Can we give them a little applause or a reaction? Fantastic. Awesome. Can we have one more group? Is there another group that would like to share their modifications and their creation? Oh, great. Ethan's group. Thank you, Ethan, or the group of which Ethan was in. Wonderful. If you were in Ethan's group, can you please put your camera on And if you're not in Ethan's group, can you turn your camera off? And I will give you some music, I think. Hold on one moment. Okay. One second, here it comes.
Ready, team? One more time.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much. Wonderful, wonderful work. Let's, third time, yes. Oh, I love all the reactions. Third time's a charm. Can we get one more group to share their work? One more group, one more group.
I volunteer my group.
Woohoo! All right, I was in there, but I'm gonna sit it out because I didn't get to see the final decision on what happened. So, all right, I will give you some
We're doing
music.
Flores.
Oh, great. Okay, well, I can follow along. I can do that. Okay, let's see. Nice. Awesome. Nice work, everybody. Nice work. So, so it's a lot of work being in a group and negotiating and collaborating and editing and refining. And we had to do that really, really fast. We're going to play on those themes right now, and then we're going to reflect in a different activity. And then we're going to reflect a little bit on the roles that we all took within those groups. So I'm going to hand it over to my fantastic colleague, Kelsey, and we're going to keep going. Thanks, everyone, for your beautiful movements this morning.
Hi, everyone. I'm just sharing my screen here. So we're going to take that same idea and we are going to do it through visual art. So I know we talked about different modes of engagement and different access points and really determining how to address live engagement on different platforms. So we're actually going to pull back and go back to Jamboard. But first I want to kind of intro what we're going to do. So yesterday we created this live word cloud based on our one-word emotions. And so I'd like you to try and either let's just pick the word that you used yesterday. Even if it's not an emotion word, it'll still fit. But pick the word that you chose from yesterday. If you weren't here yesterday, just think about a word, as you can see in the prompt here. What one word emotion would you summarize your COVID experience with? So just thinking, about that. You'll see some like turbulent, anxious, cool, slowing, relationships. There's all kinds of different ways you can do that. And once you have your word, we're going to do what I call translating our words, our emotion words, into visual descriptors. So I want you to take your emotion word. My word was grateful, so I'll show you an example of what that looks like. You're going to translate your emotion word into two different lines. So I have an example of a line on the screen here. Two different lines, both describing the same emotion word that you chose. And then you're going to translate your emotion word into one shape. And so I'm going to give you a few minutes just to think about it and jot it down, but I'll show you an example of how I did it so you can kind of see what that looks like. So my word was grateful. And when we're thinking about the word that we chose, think about what that word looks like. Like when you've seen it in your life, what does that look like? What are some adjectives you can think of? When I think of grateful, I think of sort of a lightness and an evenness and balance. So when I created my lines, I was thinking about how hard I was pressing on paper. I was thinking about the shapes that I was making. So I chose some organic lines that are curvy, lines that you would find in nature, rather than like the geometric lines we see in squares and buildings. So I was thinking about what grateful looked like to me and trying to, from that, determine what a line could look like for that. So start with one line, think about it, and then edit that line and create a new one. And then you see on the right side a shape that I've created around grateful. And I was thinking about how gratefulness is kind of, it's recentering. So I almost did a swirly shape there. So I'm just thinking about adjectives, creating some lines and some shapes. And if you guys could take, let's say 3 minutes to translate your emotion word into 2 lines and 1 shape. And I'm going to pull back to not showing my screen. And for this part, just pull out a piece of paper and a pen. It's easiest if we just do this analog. Karen mentioned, should we try Google Draw? You can if you would like to do this in your digital notebook. Given the short time frame, if you want to just pull out a piece of paper, you can do it that way too. And once you have yours, if you have an analog version, if you could hold it up to the screen, I can just do a quick check on how many people need some more time. Awesome. I'm going to ask you to do this again in just a second. These are great. All right, just 1 more minute. It looks like we're about 50-50 here. You guys can take some inspiration from each other's if you're if you're unsure. Excellent. If your arms are tired, you can put your drawings down. I'll ask you to share again in just a second. All right, just 30 more seconds. Okay, if you have an analog drawing, on the count of 3, if you could hold it up to your screen. 1, 2, 3. All right. I see turbulent has a ton of squiggly hard lines. Excitement's kind of in between jagged, everything's going upwards. There's some, there's some soft lines, some organic shapes. There's some that look like question marks, reflective. I like that. Stress, we have some hard squiggles going on. And emotional, up and down. Yeah, you guys, this is excellent. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen again. Thank you so much for sharing. That's a really quick activity in general that you can do for like getting students, especially young students, to really think about and personify what they're feeling and to share that in a way that maybe isn't overly personal, but at least gets their message across. So what we are gonna do now is do an abstract group portrait using Jamboard. So I'm going to talk a little bit very briefly about rules for engagement and how to access your Jamboard, and then we will go into our groups. So The idea of this activity is that you'll be put in a group with about 5 people, and I would like you to all draw on the same Jamboard. There's 5 different colors, so each person should be able to choose a different color that will signify your individual lines and shapes. I would like you to take turns while you do your collaborative board. So we don't have a protocol for this, just make sure that you are not the only person adding and that you're giving other people time to respond so that you can also respond to what they have put onto the board. No erasing. So at Youth and Arts, we do not believe in erasing. There is no such thing as a mistake in a piece of artwork. There are only drafts. So please do not do backspace or erase your work. You can work with whatever is on your board. And then your artwork will be complete either when everyone has added all 3 of their visual descriptors to the board, or if you feel like it still needs something, you can keep adding your visual descriptors until you come to a consensus about when your art is done. Does that make sense to everybody? I'm gonna pull up the chat just to make sure. If you have any questions about that specific, the rules for engagement, feel free to post those. So what we're gonna do, I am going to send everybody to a Jamboard, and I'm gonna pull one up so you can see what it looks like. But in your Jamboard, there's gonna be, some of them have the activities from yesterday. I want you to go to slide 3, which you can do just by going to the top and clicking the arrow. It'll take you just like a Google Slides or a PowerPoint. So go to slide 3. In the top left corner, you'll see Youth and Arts Abstract Group Portrait. And that's what I would like you to add your visual descriptors, which are the translations, the 2 lines in 1 shape that everybody has drawn. I'd like you to all add to the same group portrait, the same Jamboard. Sounds like there's a couple questions. Does someone wanna...
It looks like they're wondering about the visual descriptors.
Yeah.
If you could
go over that again. So, so when I say visual descriptor, I'm talking about the 2 lines and the shape that you created for your word. So you're not putting your word in the actual portrait, just your 2 lines and your shape. Does that make sense?
And how do we get to the board?
I'm going to take you there. I just want to make sure that we're on the same page for the first part. So can everyone give me a thumbs up if you're on, you kind of get it, and then thumbs down if you're like, nah, let's do this again. All right, cool. And it sounds like there's enough people that there's at least going to be one person in every group that can kind of lead the way. So we're going to do what we did yesterday, and I'm going to go over it just because I know not everyone is able to be at that activity, but we're going to break you out into breakout rooms. And when you get your breakout room window that pops up in the middle of your Zoom screen, it'll give you a number. It'll say you're being sent to breakout room number 4. So we want you to match your breakout room number to this group number on the Jamboard. So on my screen, you'll see all the different squares that say group 1, group 2, group 3. If you get breakout room 4, then I would like you to click on the group number 4 link, which is in the box. And that should take you to your Jamboard. If you do have any issues connecting, please just pop back into the main room and we will help you out. And Kristen has re-included the link to Google Slides. So rather than clicking on the link in the presentation that I'm showing you now, you need to pull up Google Slides on your own and click the link from that slide. And Molly has helpfully added that it's on slide 18. Okay, any questions about that? Cool. We are going to send you to breakout rooms.
Hi, everybody. Should we try doing the Jamboard in here? Michelle, is this technically group 1?
Oh, group, there it goes.
Okay. Hey, Don, do you want to go to your group? Looks like you're in breakout room number 9.
Okay, so then we click on, so what color are you, Molly?
And Marnie.
Okay, what color are you?
The alternative is that we just do one right here.
Green,
Oh,
yellow.
That's what I was thinking, so you could have it recorded.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought Eileen was going to come back in here, but I don't see that she's doing
Okay.
that. So,
Okay.
Marnie, are
we
you there?
technically group?
Oh, wait.
We could be group 11 because there's 10 breakout rooms right now.
Got it.
Wait, who else is in our group? Karen?
Do you want to put up your screen and share your screen?
You're green. Okay.
Sure.
And
Bring it
Kristen,
now.
how long are we doing this for?
Let's see, what time is it?
5
we're a
minutes.
little
I got
off
it.
in our original time. Yeah, 5 minutes.
Great.
Thanks. Sorry. Group 11. There we go. Hold on one second. Can you see the Jamboard? Yes. Okay. Great. Let me
And I see a
pick
straight green line, and then Molly, did you do the curvy
all right,
red?
so I'll start. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's great. I was just doing the timing, and can I do it with you, just so we're both doing it at the same time?
Yeah. So you
I
go
gotta
ahead.
just go to the gym.
Yeah.
I was clicking on yours. That's so funny. One of the. Okay.
So I started us
What
off,
was
but
your
you can
word?
add to it.
What was your word?
Challenge.
Challenge. So are we
So
on
that's my
slide
first
3?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I hope that form's supposed to be. Oh, abstract. No, I lied to you. I'm so sorry. Here, let me erase that. We should be on slide, I think it's 5. Kelsey told me not to erase, but I'm erasing.
Oh, I think she said 3. I thought she said 3.
There's no header on it, but okay. I think it's fine either way. All right, I'll do that again then. Okay, go ahead. You go next.
I think it's the third one.
Are you on 3?
It's the third one. It's the big
Yes.
one.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
Of 11.
The second one, which is the
Yes, great.
Okay, wait, what's that? Who's throwing that? That's three. Is that you, Molly?
My word is non.
Are you on 3?
Yeah. So we're both on Jamboard 11, group 3.
So I have a question.
So I went into our presentation
So, you know, when I did the
Tuesday,
the two lines together, it's the zigzag.
slide 18, right?
But would you be upset if I started at the top?
Yeah.
of 18 and did my
Oh, one of
zigzag
3.
lines
I'm
all
so
the way
sorry.
up?
Here I am.
Those two?
You were right.
Make
I
me
was
a
on the.
little
I'm so sorry. All right,
anxious.
here we go.
Okay.
Sorry
Okay,
about
good. No, we're good. We're good. We're good.
There we go.
This is what we're going to
All right, you go
be,
next.
right?
The zigzag
Yep.
lines.
So then my
But I had
shape.
2 of them, so then I've got the other one, oh God. That's anxiety, friends.
Okay, I'm coming back. I don't know why it left. It left. Okay. 2, 3.
I know.
Okay.
All right, now you go next.
I like it, I like it.
This was like my shape. It was just a crazy shape. It's not really even a shape. I guess a shape has sides, right?
Was the marker.
But this is my nonstop.
That's okay. Yeah, that's okay. So did you have a lot, did you have the 2 lines, the line, the modified line, and then the shape? Oh, there you go. You're doing it.
That could be a line. That could be my line. How about that? That's my line.
Perfect.
My next line. Okay.
I think it's pretty, the brush is a little bit.
And I'm gonna, if you don't mind, I'm gonna go here.
Yeah.
And then I had
I like how Karen did the smooth,
like that.
the curvy line through the blue, that looks good too.
And then, yeah, my shape.
But I kinda like it, I like that. Okay, so for the shape, where are we gonna put our shape?
It looked different than my,
Yeah. What's your shape?
Oh.
this is my shape at the bottom. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Christmas tree and then.
I like that we're both doing it over each other's because it's like, this has been what it is. It's been,
Yeah, totally.
this time of our life right now.
Looks good.
All right. I'm going to send a
Oh, is it
message
time?
back. Almost.
Okay, I'm gonna erase this.
Okay. 1 minute left.
Awesome.
There you go.
Awesome. Okay. Perfect. That looks great. I like it.
I love it. I love it. It's been one of those
I'd hang
times.
that up.
You what? I'd hang that
I
up.
said
Yeah.
I would hang that up.
On the fridge for sure.
Yeah.
Frame it. I mean, this is 2020. This is what 2020 has been.
I'll tell you, it's crazy. Yeah.
But I love that Kelsey Ward was grateful because it really did ground you in what you realize you have.
I know.
And,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you just that groundedness.
Totally. Welcome back, everybody. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the main room. Is Kelsey back yet? We're getting there. Hi, everyone. We're just waiting a couple more minutes here, a couple more seconds, really. Minutes, seconds, it's all the same in 2020. Days, years.
Kristen, can I share an observation?
Sure.
Does anyone wave this much in their normal, like professional or like, like every single group, like we all wave to each other and it's like, I never wave when I leave a room or enter a room
Oh, totally. I know. I mean, well, it's interesting to me because this is all you have to emote in and to give feedback in, so I think we do it because we feel confined by this like little box around us. So, but it is really funny. There's there's so many memes and funny things about Zoom.
And then the people that are wearing masks, I just find like the Zoom and then just COVID culture, just like how people's expressions, even when you're wearing a mask, because like you can't see a smile, you can't, unless you're a really great eye smiler, but like,
right.
It's so interesting how we're expressing ourselves differently in our different.
Are any of you going to buy
totally
masks
agree.
that have the plastic open?
Like, no.
I did. I bought one and I wore it for one of my last days of summer school, and I can get it to not fog up, but you're still breathing, so there's still condensation and it's just wet. So then it's just gross. So I decided that was a $13 purchase that is not effective, but yeah.
The district got us humanity shields, which we haven't received yet, but they're the ones that shield with the cloth at the bottom.
Oh, in our district, we have shields, and somebody was trying to makeshift a Velcro thing to put on it for that cloth.
Would that be so then you don't have to wear the shield and the mask because you have that?
because then it can't drop.
I'm gonna look at that.
We had
All
students
right.
wear the shields too, and some of them really liked them.
Oh, cool. Yeah, the not being able to see facial expressions. Well, and to the original point, even body language outside of like bust statue kind of situation is very fascinating, which then comes back to the original question we had about cameras, right? Like being on screen and engaging with students that way and trying to get ongoing feedback from their participation and engagement. So Kelsey, do you want to lead us into this reflection? And so you can conclude the collaborative drawing?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you guys for experimenting with us. We know in our group we had a tiny bit of lag, so it was a little bit delayed, but ordinarily I would love to do this activity for much longer than 5 minutes so that we could compensate for that. So we just wanted to do a quick reflection, especially with collaborative things. There tend to be emotions that come up, and they could be good or they could be bad, and depending on how you define a bad emotion, they could be challenging. And so we just like to take the time to do reflections on our activities. And so while we're reflecting, if you can keep in mind both the performative one, the gesture accumulation activity we did, and the collaborative drawing, when you're responding to reflections. And I'd love to do, I'd love to propose that as we go over reflection questions, you can unmute yourself. You can also add your reflection to the chat, whatever works best for you. Oops, accept, there we go. And we're just gonna take about 5 minutes so that you guys have time for a break. So the first question that we have for you is, how did it feel for your contributions to be modified? And I'm actually going to stop sharing so we can see each other, and I'll post the questions in the chat.
Oh, Sarah says, Sarah says that she enjoyed working in small groups, but she doesn't think they realize that they should be modifying. Interesting. Did you mean in both activities?
Now you got me even more. Now you got me with both. Sorry. I might be, there's a little chance I might be off task in my brain. Sorry.
Well,
I'll go grab
welcome
some
to
more
2020.
coffee.
Totally. I mean,
we
I
had
think
fun looking at Jamboard though, and using the different tools. I don't think we realized we were supposed to modify. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question about what modification means too. So I know that we're on the same page here. I know that for us, like we were all adding our drawings to the board, and sometimes we would layer over the other person's, and sometimes we connect the line.
Oh, we like that. People were like, "Oh, that's cool. You've got arrows, and I've got arrows, and they just ended up in the same place." So yeah, that was cool. If that's what we're calling modify, then I'm cool with that. Yeah.
We had the one group didn't modify or connect. Okay, again, I would encourage everybody to think about how you're defining modification and how we can continue to define that word together. Whitney also added that they found out that some of them used similar or exact lines or shapes to express different feelings. How many people had a similar situation in their group? Seems like quite a few, yeah. I know in our group we had 2 people that had like very similar words and very similar shapes from those words. Let's see. I like the modification.
And Kelsey, can I point out, I'm so sorry, before you read that next, that even the sharing of space when you're doing Jamboard and where you decided individually to put your shape is a modification. Like, so you're modifying the space that you're sharing and you're negotiating who's going where constantly. So think about, and the next questions that come up are around this. did you have to say, I'm going to go here, is that okay with you? Or did you just do it? Or was there any conversing around that? I mean, what was the group dynamic? I'm jumping ahead, Kelsey, sorry. What was the group dynamic and how were you collaborating around that? I think that is inherently interesting when you're in person, but there's this additional, what we were just talking about, this additional layer of extra communication that has to happen when you're in a digital landscape. So, Kelsey, go ahead.
I was just reading Allie's comment where she says that she loved talking while drawing. And although their drawings were in separate places on the board, that it sounds like there was connection that was happening, like social connection that was happening. So that's an interesting kind of dichotomy too. Sarah says, given that it wasn't planned, there was a nice dynamic of just adding on based on what space was there, and it was very fluid.
That's great.
Did anyone like take on a role during your group that you would not normally take on? Like if you typically lead an activity when you get in a group, did you follow the same sort of role in these group dynamics, or did you kind of take a back seat? I think I heard somebody unmute. So I'd like to, oh, go ahead. Michelle says she loved how their drawings were on top of or very close to one another's, which showed what COVID has been like, messy and organized and unorganized, and a lot of the connections that they had to one another. And that Deborah says learning to navigate Jamboard was interesting. Having time prior to get familiar would have been nice. And so that's a great point. We actually wanted this to be the activity that you took time to get to know. So a lot of this PD throughout the week is just about having people explore different platforms so that you feel a little bit more empowered to use them in your classroom when the day comes. So I appreciate Deborah bringing that up, that it was hard given that you had an activity we proposed to you, but hopefully you found some time to experiment within that. Kristen, would you like to add anything? Oh, 1 second.
Yeah,
Sarah,
yeah.
I was just gonna read Sarah's
go right
comment.
ahead.
Yeah, this is hard when you have two people in the same conversation, sorry.
Yeah.
Sarah said that she landed back with 3 of the people she worked with earlier, so it was fun to build on those
nice.
connections. Sarah, how was your collaboration similar or different? Let's see, how is it similar between the gesture activity and the drawing activity?
Well, I would say what strikes me is like early in my career, I was always the one that started talking first, and I'm trying, I know Molly's probably making faces, but I try to take, do the step back type thing. And I just felt like it was really nice and organic. There was like 3 of us and we were like helping one person find the Jamboard. And then we were like discovering the tools and choosing a color. And it just felt really organic. Is that the answer to your question?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, I promise I will go get more coffee before you
No, that resonates a lot with me. I mean, and I have to be cognizant of that step up, step back all the time. Like I'll often be the first one to jump in. And I just saw a quote on somebody's email about like enthusiasm being spiritual or something, and I feel similar. Like I'll jump in with like 100% enthusiasm, but often I have to restrain myself and say, I'm gonna talk 3rd or 4th and see how that goes. So I always question, especially when we do PDs, it's really interesting because students will typically, if I'm working with kids and we're doing a movement activity, they'll be jumping in. Everybody has an idea. And it's more about like what order and sequence do we go in. When I work with adults, it's opposite. It's like, you're in a group together and then all of a sudden it's like, well, who's going to go first? Like it's a different who's going to go first. But I appreciate the risk taking and the restraints all at the same time. I think they make an interesting dynamic individually, but then it makes an interesting dynamic collaboratively.
And Cindy adds to, I have to step back and remember what Eileen taught me last year, give the kids a pause. Yeah, I would add too, I love that. I would add too in reflection, like our tendency is to try and fill the space when it's silent, especially on something like Zoom where you just see a bunch of people staring at you and you're like, this is awkward. But the kind of the beauty of reflection time is that you're giving people time and space and quiet to really formulate their thoughts, which takes some students do it at different rates. So I would encourage you, if you do decide to reflect on your activities too, pose a question, which we'll continue to try and model, even though it's really hard to not jump in. Pose a question and give them a good solid 20 seconds of silence, and perhaps someone you don't expect will speak up and start participating. So we want to give you guys time for a break. The reflection questions are on the slides, but we'll repost in the chat. And we encourage you to take them and journal on them in either your digital journal or on an analog in-person journal. And we'll come back at 10 o'clock. Okay.
Great.
Thanks so much, everybody. Thanks
Thank
for
you,
participating.
everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. See you in 15 minutes. Then how we connected them to the watershed. So Don is going to take over, and Michelle and I are going to assist him with the slides. So Don will just let us know when to show each slide. And what he's going to do is basically go into the levels of inquiry, the questions. So Don, we're going to give it to you, my friend, and we're really, really, really excited that you're with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. How about we just go to, well, I want to thank everybody here, but one thing before I launch, I don't know if this is the right place, but I need to lodge a complaint. I'm watching all these things that you all from the Youth and Arts put together, and they are so fun and so captivating and so diverting. And I don't know by what caprice of nature I draw the point in the lineup where I get to talk about, well, last night's homework. I don't know. It's a buzzkill, and we'll sort it out later, you know. But I don't know, man. You guys are
Not at all.
You guys are so
Just
fun.
make a dance about it. You just make a
Yeah,
dance about it.
Right. As soon as I get over my trips, yeah. So thank you. Great fun with you all, and thank you for all the participants for being here. Listen, yeah, I am going to talk a little bit about. I'm going to remind you that you had a homework assignment last night. So maybe we just start. You could put up, if you'd like, slide. I think it's number 21. It's just an introduction. This slide just has my name and also an email address there. So if there's later on, if you're inclined to pursue the conversation or you have other questions, you know, either later in this week or even in the weeks beyond, feel free to contact me at that email. So listen, yesterday, Willow, who, yes, in fact, was my teaching partner for some 10 years in a middle school in Bolinas. Yesterday, she went through unpacking how to do mind maps. And I wanted to start there. I wanted to, you know, connect to what Willow had presented with a quotation from an author, Stephen Hall, who wrote a book called You Are Here. And in the foreword to that book, he writes this, and I think it's an important starting point. He says, I am reminded that the most important thing a map shows, if we pause to look at it long enough, if we travel upon it widely enough, if we think about it hard enough, is all the things we still don't know. And so in that regard, I think what Mr. Hall's talking about, what he's suggesting is that a map, your mind map, any map, can be used as a tool for inspiring inquiry. It's a map is a departure point for exploring what lies beyond the map, what lies beyond the map's boundaries. And so for the next 30 minutes, I'm gonna dive in with you into a discussion about how to prompt different types of inquiry, and not only for you as teachers, but also how to possibly inspire inquiry from your students, which I think is at the core of a dynamic classroom. How to get your students to engage in inquiry so that they can explore their world deeper, develop a deeper understanding of themselves and the world they live in. So I want to begin, let's go to the next slide. I want to begin then with 3 premises upon which I'm going to base my presentation today. This first premise is maybe obvious, but in being obvious, we might overlook some important aspects. One, my experience is that as a teacher, my students came in with a lot of ideas and half notions, often without any connective tissue. No template for how to connect their ideas into useful constructs. In a funny kind of way, walking into a classroom every day is like being reborn. We walk in with stuff in our head, but maybe not a clear way on how to connect it. And this, as a middle school teacher, was something I grappled with all the time. My students knew an awful lot of things, but it wasn't about so much teaching them directly, imparting information, so much as compelling them, encouraging them, inviting them, giving them license to share what they knew and connect it in different ways. The root of education is about drawing forth, all right? So it's almost like my students would walk in, each of them with a pile of bricks and no blueprint for what to build with them. And that's further complicated by the fact that every student that came in had a different pile of bricks. And so my role as educator was to figure out how to give cause and inspiration for them to rummage through what they already had, what they already know, and give them pathways to connect and present what they know in new and different ways, and watch their understanding of the world unfold as they connect ideas that maybe they already had. And so in that sense, the pathway forward in inquiry for me was less about, less in the direction of seeking answers and more in the direction of seeking questions. The second of these premises, look, if I asked you, if I pose myself the question, what's 3 + 5? In order to even frame that question, it presumes that I know something about 3-ness, I know something about 5-ness, and I know something about the operation of addition. And already in that, even though I might not know a final answer of what does 3 + 5 equal, I already know that the answer is going to be greater than 3 or 5. And so in that, I already have an estimate. I already have a sense of the answer. And this is really important when we start looking at our students and asking questions. The question actually accesses prior knowledge and asks me to, basically legitimizes me in that I already know part of the answer and just being able to frame the question. Okay, and the third premise, this one speaks directly to the art of inquiry. It's about asking questions of different types. And different types of questions create cause and inspiration for our students to access and activate that prior knowledge, to enlist what's already known in ways that, you know, the information might otherwise just lay fallow and inaccessible, disconnected. And so this premise speaks to the idea that the blueprint is maybe hiding in the pile of bricks itself. That the bricks themselves, the prior knowledge, already have the blueprint of how to construct them into something meaningful and greater. So I have an exercise here I'd like to engage you in. The best way I can demonstrate these 3 premises is by looking at a Scrabble board. So if you could bring up the next slide. All right. On this slide, you'll see a portion of a Scrabble board. And on the lower left, there's a group of letters. This might be the letters that are on your slide tray if you're familiar with playing Scrabble. And on the right is another set of letters, another slide tray. And I'm going to use these 2 to represent the minds of 2 middle schoolers I know. You'll notice that, okay, typical of middle schoolers, if you know them, the ideas there, these are preconceived ideas, this is their prior knowledge. In both cases, their ideas are kind of scattered on the page and there's not a whole lot going on there. They're coming in preloaded, but what to do with those letters is a bit of a question and a bit of a conundrum for them as students. And not only for middle schoolers, but I would argue for any student who walks into any classroom. maybe even for any teacher that walks into a classroom. And so we're going to call the pile of letters on the left, we're going to give that student a name. We're going to call that student Lefty. And the pile of letters on the right, we're going to call that student, give that student a name Righty. And you'll notice that Lefty is kind of vowel heavy, whereas student Righty is consonant heavy. If I look a little closer, I notice that both students have a P and a D, and I think that's maybe a content standard they both mastered in a previous grade or something, because they're both coming in with that intact, but there it is. So my first task for you this morning, hopefully you have a pencil and a piece of paper handy, or maybe you can just do this by looking at the board, but certainly a pencil would be useful. I want you to take just a moment to see how many words, if you were Lefty, how many words could you form with that group of 7 letters? And you can reuse letters and whatnot, but given that pile of 7 letters, how many individual words can you make? And you don't have to put them on the board or anything. You just like make note of what words you could form. And then I'd like you to do that same exercise, spend 30 seconds. Do that same exercise for the pile of letters. Student Righty, same thing, same exercise. How many words could you form with those letters? I'll give you about half a minute on that. Okay, if you haven't gone yet to Righty, do that. Give them equal time, equal attention. Right, and so I might ask you, and you could enter these in the chat if you'd like, or we could just talk about it. I'm wondering if you could make some observations. What do you notice in forming words from these 2 different piles? And while we're doing that, let's see, I'll bring up my chat here. Hard to form words with 1 vowel. Somebody could make a lot more with righties. Oh, I thought that was interesting. Yeah, I mean Lefty. Okay, thank you. I was second guessing my choice of.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, you're good. Righty and lefty. Right. Well, okay, so I think there's a consensus. Righty was toughest. I only got 1 word. Lefty, yeah, because lefty's loaded with vowels. Lefty's coming in with a different fund of knowledge, a different fund of previous knowledge. It was interesting to me. I could only make 4 words with righty, just off the top of my head. Maybe there's more. One of them, interestingly, was E-H, and another one was hemp, which might explain something about also why righty might be having some struggles with, forming words in my classroom, putting ideas together. Anyway, these 2 students, without any prompting, are coming in with their own knowledge, and one has a lot of facility with connecting ideas in ways that are meaningful, and the other student, Righty, is coming in with a load of ideas but less able to connect them into meaningful constructs. Okay, so I'm gonna then run you through another exercise here on the Scrabble board, and in this one you're going to be assigned to a breakout room with a partner. And when you get to the breakout room, one of you is going to assume the role of lefty, and the other of you will assume the role of righty. And available to you in your breakout room will be 2 slides. And here, Michelle and Eileen, you'll have to help me loading those up and making them accessible to people. But in the first slide, the word gulch will be on the board. And your task, if you're lefty, is to imagine how many words you could form using your fund of knowledge, your 7 letters. How many words could you form off of that word gulch? And again, you can use the letters over and over. It's just a matter of, seeing how many words could you possibly form based on that prompt. Meanwhile, the other of you who's righty will do the same exercise. How many words can you form with your set of letters using the word gulch as a prompt? And I want you to spend about, 2 minutes max on that, really. And then you're going to get a second prompt. And if we could look at that slide has the word canyon on it. A similar concept to a gulch, but a different word to describe it. And again, the same exercise. Lefty, how many words can you form off of the word canyon using your fund of knowledge, your 7 letters? And righty, how many words can you form off of the word canyon, given your fund of knowledge, your 7 letters? And you can make a note of these, just write them down, jot them on a piece of paper. And I want you to pay attention to what goes on, and we can have a little discussion about what you notice in your response to these 2 different prompts, given the letters that you're starting with. So if we could break folks into breakout
and
rooms
before
about
they
4
go,
minutes.
so Don, before they go, just so you know, Melissa Guerrero has been really busy making this easy for people. So what she said was, you can go to the slide deck, and it's on slide 24 and 25 so that you have access to it. And she also put it in the chat so you could just click on it. So Melissa's got us all set up. Make sure you click on that when you go into your room. And Michelle's going to put you all in breakout rooms. Thank you, Don.
All right, thanks. Thanks a lot. Okay, I'll catch you back here in a few minutes.
Okay. Okay, so me and you are in here, but we're supposed to do gulch first. Michelle, will you help us? How do we get rid of canyon and go to gulch? And then Stacy, do you want to be, or you just have to go back one? Okay, do you want to be lefty with all the vowels?
No, I would like to be righty.
You would? Okay, Ruby.
I want to explore that.
All right, then you write as many words as you can, and I'll write as many words as I can. For just a sec. Michelle, you be on my side because I think I need extra help. Oh, I know what I could write. How do you spell gape? Oh, hide. Code. Code. Left. Oh, no. Okay, I'm able to write a lot, Stacy. Holy smokes. I'm not gonna finish them all, but holy macaroni, it's really easy for me. That's not fair, is it? I mean,
I'm thinking hard. I'm really working here.
Well, okay, I'm just gonna tell you so far I have dupe, gape, hide, code, goad, put, pale, hail, and I'm sure there's 10,000 others. What do you have?
I have, well, so I guess my question, I probably should have had a clarifying question before we started. Can I use the letters more than once, or?
No, in Scrabble, you only get to use it once.
So I can only, All right.
Mhm.
Well, then I really only get, I get 2 words,
Okay.
I guess. I guess my largest word would be, I don't even know if it's a real word, but pled. Like
What's it mean?
that would
Oh
be
yeah,
the
yeah.
past tense of plead.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I pled guilty. Okay.
Right. That's
I
what
agree
I was.
with it.
And then I could do up after that.
Hey, you know what
Oh
else?
no, I can't. I can't.
Why?
Because the P. I'm using the P twice.
Oh yeah. If you wanted a bigger word where you got more points, what if you used the word dupe? Because then you get double letters, so you'd get 4 for the D, and then for the P you would get 6 points. So I think
Oh,
if
the
you use
double
dupe, you'd get,
letter.
yeah,
Or
you'd get more points.
You could also
Or
use
dump.
the word duck.
Oh, dump. Yeah.
No, duck like D-U-C-K.
Oh, or duck. Yeah, okay.
But the D, I don't have a U with the.
Oh, yeah. She doesn't have
If
a
I
U.
use the C, I can't use the U. I also have the word gem, G-E-M. That's a triple
Ooh, that's
letter
good.
score with the 3.
Ooh, yeah. Okay, let's go to the next slide because I think we're going to discover something really interesting. So now when we go to Canyon, see how many words you can make, and I'll see how many words I can make because the tables might have been turned. Let me see.
Are these my same letters?
Yep.
Okay.
Who can do pond, me or her? Oh, me, nice. Oh, thank you for helping me, Michelle. Oh, wow, look at, she can do hope. And you'd get major, see, yours are worth more points.
I thought that I could do
Oh, yeah, because look how many points you would get. What else can you do?
But
'Cause
can't
yours-
wait, the E's only 1. That's a triple letter score. All the rest of them aren't worth very much. Yeah. That's the Scrabble part you have to really think about.
Yeah. Oh, wait, but look at, K is
Oh, I
worth
could
5 points. Poke.
I could do make.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
And that
man,
would
look how
be
many
double
points you
letter
would
with the
get.
K.
Geez, that's 10 points right there. You would win with your letters with that word. You know what, Stacy?
What?
Like, it makes me think about mathematics and problem solving and how, like, sometimes the kids that don't know their facts at all, but you put up something that's really visual and they can solve it, nobody else can. You know what I mean? Like I feel like you're righty, like you're now that math kid that maybe you don't have your math facts, but you have these amazing visual abilities or like can think out of the box for those hard problems.
Yeah.
So she could also do pod. So you have make and then pod, P-O-D. And so you got rid of your P and your D. And then I was also thinking under the D, you could say DJ.
Oh, you are funny.
But then the N and the J would not work.
Oh yeah, the J's worth 8 points. But who else does it make you think of in terms of your kids? Do you know what I mean? Righty and lefty.
Well, what it almost tells me more is not the difference in kids, but the presentation from the teacher and the thought that goes into if I chose this word, you know, being able to make sure you know the different prompts or the different things you're putting out there is going to be able to reach or be accessible to those different groups of kids, right? To both righty and to lefty. So if you played this game, then you did it twice. You have to make sure that you've provided a lot of consonants in one and a lot of vowels in the other because that's going to help these two different groups or these two different types of students in a way. So
Yeah.
that just brings it more on really
On us.
thinking, being mindful of who you have in the room and how you can connect to them.
Yeah, how to set up that entry point. You're so right. But that's because you're so good at that. Are you still first grade? What grade are you this year?
I'm kindergarten.
Oh, now you're kindergarten. Oh, see that you're so thoughtful. That makes really good sense.
But it seems like there's more options with the letters with more vowels than there are with the ones on the right, but that the ones with the right have a higher level of points. And so it's like it's the quality versus the quantity.
That's another good point. Yeah. And the word that she chose to put up there, canyon versus gulch, how it allowed so much more of an entry point for those types of letters or learners. Yeah, really, Stacy's right. It requires so much thought from the teacher. Yeah. Yeah, tell us more, Stacy. That's really interesting.
No, well, that's why this kind of training is so good, because it's showing us all these different ways to try to connect with kids, in the whole watershed process here. You could totally do it one way and you could only really hit certain kids, but because you have so many different partners that are showing us different perspectives, I think it gives the toolbox gets larger, and we're able to do it. Like yesterday, I totally thought I would not do that mirroring exercise. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to totally be embarrassed and I just will not ever do that. And I did it and I loved it. And I just think, I can hear something as a teacher, as a person, and say, I totally won't do that. Like, that's so not me. But if I let go and go, I can try that, then sometimes you get a really good surprise. And so that's why I'm here, so that I can get all of these little pieces to think about and see and push me out of my comfort zone. Because if I'm comfortable as a teacher and I only put up gulch all the time, because that's my comfort zone, then I'm never going to reach those other kids, even if I think I'm the greatest teacher, the most understanding teacher. So, but I need to know that there's a canyon there too. And if I went that route, I'd hit so many other kids.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Because we want to go from our comfort zone, but we're asking kids to come out of their comfort zone. But I'm with you. All the art stuff is really a push for me, but I'm making myself do it. Oh, I think our people coming back? Yeah. Welcome. Thanks, Stacy.
Thank you.
I think we're getting a little behind schedule, but.
Wait, let's play Stretches on. No!
Sorry.
Okay, so it looks like folks are trickling back in. And I had a thought as people come back in that if you're inclined, you could post a few of your words up there, but make sure you preface it either with an L or an R, so we know, whether you were righty or lefty. But
1, 2,
if you'd like,
5,
as
6,
people
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25.
Hey, Willow.
Okay. That was so fun. I can't believe.
Sorry.
So I'm seeing people putting up their letters for, or their words rather, for righty and lefty. I like this. Ethan wrote down how many words he was able to do with each, just a word count. That's a good idea. Likewise, Melissa. Oh no, she's talking about the number of slides. I'm sorry. So as we're doing this, I'm wondering what kinds of things people noticed. And considering the two different prompts, Gulch and Canyon. Yes, and I agree. Ethan must rock at Scrabble.
Oh, I'm not muted.
That's okay. Yeah, and a little hard time not having the letters to move around. That tactile sense is missing, but I didn't know how to deal with that. But so as Sally and I went through this, Sally, my partner, we noticed that Lefty had more agency in forming words, either with Gulch or with Canyon. It was relatively equal in Sally's view, whereas I was righty, and when I went to the prompt, Gulch had difficulty forming any words at all, maybe 2 or 3. And then when I looked at Canyon, righty was able to pump out 15 different words. And so my point here, my intention is to illustrate that by changing the nature of the prompt, not the subject, a Gulch is very much like a Canyon, but by changing the nature of that prompt, it allowed one student to have greater agency in connecting prior knowledge in ways that were meaningful and whatnot. And so my purpose here is to illustrate, although we probably already know this, but to remind all that changing our prompt is going to give cause for students of different types to access their information, to access their pile of bricks and put it together in a way that actually builds something. So it's a plea to construct, to put in front of my students, different types of prompts. And so from there, I'd like to go toward a brief overview, some ideas on how to generate a roadmap for how to generate some different types of queries or prompts. And one that I rely on heavily is Bloom's taxonomy. Now, I know you've all had Bloom's taxonomy when you were in teacher training. It's been around for over 60 years. It's already, tried and true and maybe worn out, but there's so many iterations, and I'm not going to go through it in great detail, but I think it's worth rekindling or hitting a refresh button on Bloom's taxonomy, because I've used it many times as a roadmap for gauging what kind of questions I'm putting in front of my students. So real briefly, if we could go to the next slide, I think it's slide 26. Okay, Bloom's taxonomy takes the types of inquiry that we might make and breaks it into 6 categories based upon what are known as different cognitive domains. And they're kind of ranked, and the lower, the most basic level of cognitive domain is one that we might call knowledge. Now in these next few slides, and I'm going to go through these pretty quickly, but in the next few slides, on the left is an expression of how, or a prompt that demonstrates the nature of that cognitive domain, of that type of query. And in the right, I put a prompt that by parallel construction models what that level of inquiry might sound like as I apply it to watersheds, because this week we're going to be talking about watersheds. So here I've got, on the one hand, what is a figure, and on the other, an analogy. The analog to that in my studies of watersheds would be, in what watershed do I live? Now, level 1 is just about identifying information, names, dates, places. It's not a deep level of information, but it's just my background knowledge and basic recall. And often when we ask this kind of question, what we're looking for is a response that's almost delivered back in the same form that it was transmitted originally. And ironically, or interestingly, although there's many different levels of question, studies have been done that show that up to 80% of questions in a typical classroom, and I'm talking K-12, are at this level. And it makes sense on a certain level. They're easy to ask, they're easy to answer, they're easy to assess. They can be done quickly on a multiple choice question and whatnot, but it's just one level, one building block. So let's go to the next slide, understanding. Okay, in this one, understanding, there we go, thank you. Understanding. In this query, it presumes that you've got some previous knowledge, but also asks a student to demonstrate by explaining that they actually understand that knowledge. Interestingly, in the figure on the left, I put that triangle oriented that way. Studies were done with some primary students who did not identify a triangle oriented like that as a triangle, because every triangle that the teachers had drawn and every triangle that they had seen in text and whatnot was drawn with a flat bottom. And so primary students knew that a triangle had 3 sides, but they had also assumed in its presentation that a triangle also had to be resting on a flat bottom. And so this query is getting at, do you really understand the qualities, the attributes of a triangle? Likewise on the right, do you understand what a watershed is, and can you demonstrate that by explaining how water moves through it? Where does it come from? Where does it go? Let's go to the next slide. Okay, this level of inquiry demonstrates that not every inquiry has to be based on a question. Sometimes an inquiry can involve a task or a directive. And here, by applying what I already know, by asking my student to apply what she already knows, I can see that she not only understands a concept, she knows what a triangle is, but she can actually apply that knowledge usefully in the world beyond the classroom. And then there's an analog there on the right for how we might apply that kind of thinking to a watershed. Okay, in level 4, analysis. This is where things start to shift. The next 3 levels of inquiry start shifting away from what do I know and more toward what do I think. And that's an important distinction in my classroom. Knowledge has a place, but also these next levels of inquiry are key to enlivening the conversation in my classroom, to inviting students in with their opinions, to create cause for them to evaluate, make decisions, and contribute to the classroom in a different way. And these levels of inquiry are notable in that they don't necessarily have correct answers. So in level 4 analysis, we're looking at what are the indicators. We're taking things apart. This is where I take the alarm clock apart and spread the pieces all over the floor and look at the relationship of parts. Same thing here. What are the relationships between the parts in a watershed, for example? Level 5, when we look at this level, we're looking now at opinion. We've disassembled something, we've identified the parts, we've looked at the relationships, and now we're starting to make judgments and opinions, form opinions, based on our observations. Which of these shapes is most appealing? And over on the right, a rating scale, a way of evaluating quality, right? Just some examples of how we might take evaluation and apply it to a study of watersheds. And then the last here, the level 6, again, this is less a query in the form of a question and more inquiry based on a directive. This is where we have to do something. We have to take all the knowledge. We have to take those things we disassembled in our analysis and now reassemble them in different ways to make a new construct, to solve a problem. And this is where our students have the greatest agency in being participants in their world, is when they're compelled and given permission, frankly, to create something new based upon their understanding and their analysis of the parts that are involved. So I want to end with 3 misconceptions. And I know I went through that really quickly, and you could Google Bloom's taxonomy for the rest of your born days and not get to the end of it. But I put it up as a refresh because maybe these 3 misconceptions will point out the most important takeaways. 1, Bloom's taxonomy is just one tool. There are many ways of getting at depth of knowledge and constructing different questions. The second misconception is really important in that these levels of cognition, these cognitive domains they're developmentally tied, but they're not literally sequential. I've seen 3-year-olds complain that their brother got the better crayon. That's an evaluative question coming from a 3-year-old, and yet that 3-year-old might not know the difference between blue-green and green-blue, an analysis question. And so you're going to find even at kindergarten, you're going to have kids who walk in who are firing away with evaluative and creative cognition and need to be backfilled maybe with some of the underpinning information that's necessary. On the other hand, you're going to have high schoolers that come in that are not accessing that evaluative and creative content, maybe because they have to spend more time in analysis. And so to the last point here, this is not just a tool for teachers to use in evaluating and assessing the range of questions they're asking their students. I've taught Bloom's taxonomy explicitly to students as young as 3rd grade. And when I gave them this vocabulary, when I broke it down, maybe with like those shapes that I showed you a while ago, it gave agency for those kids to start exercising their own metacognition, to start evaluating and understanding that by asking themselves different types of questions, not just from me, but themselves, that they were able to, back to my working premises, that they were able to access information that they already had in ways that were new and revelatory. And once students are given this tool, taught explicitly, the plates start spinning, students start becoming self-motivated, they start having a different kind of dialogue, and the classroom becomes a much more dynamic conversation. And as a teacher, I could step away and just watch the plates spin. It was magical. And so I'm going to end with an appeal to not only use some kind of tool, whether it's Bloom's or another, some kind of tool for prompting yourself as a teacher to look at different ways to ask questions, so that kid, Righty, can actually have some agency in connecting her previous knowledge meaningfully. And also teach this explicitly to your kids. Model and train, show, teach your kids the different qualities of questions that can be asked of themselves. And they'll amaze you with what they produce.
Thank you, Don. Wowzers.
Thank you so much for entertaining me. Again, a quick run through. If you want to talk more about inquiry, I'll be around later this week. Maybe if you need help developing questions for your class, for your unit study, whatever, and not just in this week, but in the weeks beyond, I left you an email. Feel free to contact me. And again, thank you all for entertaining me for a while.
Wow, very generous. Okay, thanks. All right, Ruben and Sagit, we're happy you're here as well.
Okay, thank you, Dawn. This was great, and we will also use it in, I think, 30 minutes or so. So, hi, everyone. It's a great second day. The first grade, we had so much fun, and so now we're in the second day, and we hope that we will contribute to the fun and learning. And so, my name is Sagit Betzer, and I'm here with Ruben Connor, who is the lead educator in the Bay Area Discovery Museum. So we are from the Bay Area Discovery Museum, and I don't see everyone, but just a second. I just wanted to see raising hands who were before at the Bay Area Discovery Museum. You can do it digitally or, okay, and who never been there or never heard about just never been in the museum. Yeah, let me just scroll for another page. Okay, so we have most, we can go back to the slides. So we have most people who know the museum, but for the sake of the people who've never been in a museum, we have here a picture that is from our office. Unfortunately, we cannot do this presentation from there because the museum is ready to open next week and there's so much construction and noise. So both of Ruben and I are from our houses. But this is a children's museum, and we have programs either in the museum or in schools from kids from 6th month to 5th grade. And today we are here to kick off the inquiry of the week and the phenomenon. And then later in the afternoon, we'll also have a session on engineering design process. Okay. Okay, so just to get into the mindset and atmosphere, we wanted to share here a work of artist that we like. Her name's Yael Dgani, who makes these postcards that we can put in our spaces, either digital or physical spaces, to transform them into a creative and exploration place. And you may see some of these postcards in your Jamboards when we'll go into them in a little bit, and just know that they are there just to get you into this groove of creativity. Okay, objectives. So what are we gonna do in this session? We're gonna explore inquiry-based learning, but specifically in the virtual classroom and the local context. We will share a little bit about the phenomenon-driven instruction, and we'll introduce the anchoring phenomena of the river orders. And okay, so let's start. We would like you, if you can first write to yourself or in your digital board and then share it on the chat. What does it mean to you, inquiry-based learning? You can write a sentence or a word, just what comes to your mind. Whenever you're ready, you can put it in the chat. And Ruben will help me.
All right.
Hear it.
So they're sending them in. Whitney says, questions build on questions, build on questions. Maureen is saying what students are curious about in their world. Awesome, Ms. Maureen. Sarah said, student-centered, students' questions. Interesting. Ali is saying, starts with questions. We're circling around the word questions, I like it. Deborah, active learning questions. Nice. Karen says exploring. That's what she thinks when thinking about inquiry.
Yeah, so we see a lot of questions, which relates to what Dawn showed us before, and the student center. Yes, so if we will, thank you everyone for sharing. And I also want to say that we're gonna go really, maybe it will feel quickly, and we hope to be able to get everyone's thoughts, but also we have to be mindful of the time and your break afterwards. So I'm sorry that we're not gonna read everyone's ideas, but it's here and it will be kept and saved so everyone can look at it afterwards. So yes, like we said before, and like people said, inquiry is question driven. And that I think one of the things that that is in the center is that we want to position students as sense makers, as producers of knowledge. Not when we think of producers, even when you take a camera and we take a picture of something, or you, what we call collect data, is actually producing, because you are deciding what are you collecting and what are you saying. So we want to, like people said in the chat, to increase curiosity, motivation, and the sense of purpose. And like Dawn said before at the beginning of one of his points, was to support student building network of related ideas. And our role as facilitator is to provide strategies like the strategies before, like the mind mapping and other strategies for our learners to go through this process. And yeah, so now I would like you to write a question that you have about inquiry-based learning that you actually would like to explore this week. I'm not saying just in this session, but the whole week it's going to be around an inquiry. So what thing you want to like unpack for yourself, or some sticking point that you want to, and please write it to yourself and then in the chat, and then close it so it will not distract you, but remember it throughout the week. And it also will help us to modify and change and think of what are the things that you are interested in. So Ruben, whenever you want.
Yeah. So some people are saying, Julie, digital resources for inquiry-based learning.
Yeah.
Karen, I always worry about equity with inquiry when students have different resources.
Yeah, especially these days, but usually, yeah.
Eileen, yes, that's a great follow-up question. How do we get interesting phenomena to all students?
Yeah,
It's
if
really
it's about
important.
interest, how do we catch interest? Yeah.
Cindy, I struggle getting kids to analysis and evaluation.
Yeah. So after creating the investigations, how do we move forward, move even deeper? Yes. So we see here a mix of questions that we have that relates to inquiry based, even if we did it in a regular classroom, and then we have on top of it our new world that we entered. And that adds another question about pedagogy and what does it mean to do it in this new world. And if we move to the next slide. And again, please everyone, keep just populating the chat with your question. It will also help us, and we hope that everyone wrote for themselves. Wait, go up, yeah. So we will have two activities. This is the first one, and this one is a playful inquiry on what we said before, that we have two things today, and one of them is that we are all in the virtual world. And how do we talk about engaging kids and inquiry and hands-on? We're not with them in the physical world. And so we were trying to get the inquiry into the world that we are now. So if we can get back to seeing everyone in a gallery view. Yeah, okay. Hi, everyone. I'll do this. Okay, so this is the first playful activity that we do now for this session. So here we are. We found ourselves in a new world, and we call it Zoomlandia. And in this world, because the living condition on Earth changed, now we're in this new place, and not only we're in a new place, we're not only travelers, but we actually make this our habitat. So like previous explorers of new lands, we want to use all our senses in the service of learning about life in Zoomlandia, but also about how to make this world more comfortable for us as a community and as individuals. So let's start with using our sense of vision and just look carefully around with our eyes. I hope everyone in the gallery view, and just write in the chat, what do you notice and what do you wonder?
Some people are saying, I see people in varied locations, office, outdoors, bedrooms. Yes. I can only see certain people. I wonder if everyone is comfortable. Observation. I notice lots of people. I wonder where they are. I wonder what people are eating. I had that same question too. I am hyper aware of my bedroom. I wonder if everyone is hearing the same background noise. Yes, these are all great. I wonder if people have bodies or just heads.
Oh, wow, these are great questions. And so we see that people are really looking at the different Zoom boxes. And we want you now to even look even more carefully in Zoom boxes, and please notice and wonder about specific things inside and write them in the chat. What do we have there, Ruben?
So I wonder how many people pay attention to their background.
Good one.
Yeah. I noticed teacher people pay better attention than my kiddos. I wonder what fall will look like. I see varied light sources. Yes, that's what I was actually about to say. Oh, Molly's getting a call out. I noticed Molly's beautiful art on her walls.
Oh, yes. Very beautiful.
Yes.
Plate, looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like some people are in their classrooms. Yes.
I was also wondering if there are people that are part of your community but are not part of here, of this Zoom. They didn't get a Zoom box. I'm wondering. So now we are going to go and tweak a little bit with our box. So as we know, people see us through the camera, but they see our box. And what we would like you to do is to shift a little bit the way people see you. It can be, I don't know, it's up to you to make a decision, or shift a little bit what they see. So you can change, move, whatever. I don't want to give a, just tweak with it. Okay. So what do we notice now? Let's add now to the chat. I'm sure there's very different notices and wonderings.
I see more animals, Sarah says. Some folks went outside. What else? Some people are holding things up and covering their view.
Yeah. It's interesting to see faces that are distorted with some plastic bottles and water and different light settings. Oh, wow, there's close-up Mimi. I like this one. I see Eileen without a mask. Great. Cool. Okay. Now we're gonna use a word to describe our feeling now at the moment, but we'll not do it through the chat. We'll do it in a different way. So what we ask you is, you know how if you go to your box to the right side, you have 3 dots. When you click on them, you can do a rename, something that kids love to do. We're gonna go to the rename, and in the rename, instead of your name, please write a feeling that you feel now. And then once you finish writing it, close your video so we can see, okay? So let's all, everyone, if someone has trouble knowing how to do it, raise your hand, go to the 3 dots up there. There is a word rename. You change it to a feeling and you close your
A lot of tired.
yeah, we're in the middle of the day now, yeah?
Yeah.
Let's just watch what we have there. So the 3 dots are, Julie, I don't know if you still have it. It's in the right side of your box. You look at the Zoom your picture on the screen, and you have 3 dots on this right, on your screen.
Do I have to be in a certain view to see the 3 dots? Because I'm not seeing any 3 dots in my screen.
Um,
I'm not used to Zoom. I'm used to Google Meet, and I know where
Oh,
the
sure.
dots are.
We will try to help you.
Wait, Julie, I had that same problem. This is Eileen, and Michelle showed me. I was, instead of looking on the bottom of the screen, go to your box where it says mute and then 3 things. Go up to your little
And
box.
are you on gallery view? Do you see all the boxes?
Was on gallery view.
Yeah, you probably still are. So go to your own box, and in the top right, there should be dots.
Oh, go to my own box. Thank you.
Sure.
I thought I was looking at the bottom of the screen I was seeing. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, and then close the video so we won't see you. Okay, so let's take a moment and just look at different words, feelings that people feel now. Okay, so don't come back yet from the video. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna use a different sense, our sense of hearing. And what we ask you is to keep your videos off, but open your mic. Unless you really, really can't, we want really to hear the noises of Zoomlandia and to see what kind of noises and, voices and sounds Zoomlandia has. So please, and just listen. Let's just take 30 seconds.
You should be bossing me around. Tell me what to do.
I never tell you what to do. Oh my God. I will refrain from swearing during this time.
Let me fix your swimsuit. Turn around, let me see. Excellent. Please make sure you put sunscreen on.
Elsie, I see you're still muted.
Kelsey had some work to do.
Oh, hey, I got the go ahead for
Now,
that, Raymond.
and now, Alex,
Yeah,
let's
it's real
all
now.
say what we just heard together. Just share with your voice. What did you notice about the sounds of Zoomlandia?
I heard giggling.
Yes.
I heard a chair move or a stool or something.
I heard people talking.
Yeah, people having conversations.
Did I do that justice, that description? Okay.
Yeah.
I have 3 children that you're probably hearing.
I think I hear a TV too, Allie.
Well, that could be Ray.
Ah, okay.
I'm like excited for her. It's cool.
Okay.
I like the sounds of Zoolandia.
Yeah. Okay, let's close our microphones and open our video. Unmute myself. Yeah. Okay, we're now going to move to a different sense, which will be the last sense that we're going to use for this exercise. And this will be the sense of touch. So we are all in boxes, and we are wondering how we have walls. And we want you to explore the walls. Are they hard? Are they permeable? Can you give someone else something through your walls? And can you stretch your whole body through what do you need to do in order to stretch your whole body inside the box? All these explorations, just let's see. Ruben, do you want to take the pen?
Yeah. Don, we're like right next to each other. If you like, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
You too.
Okay. What did you notice and wonder about now after trying your Zoom box with your body, with your sense of touch? Please write us in the chat.
It's interesting because now I don't know who are writing these.
Oh yeah.
Some people are saying Brady Bunch. I could be anime. Is that what Overwhelm is trying to say? Anime. Okay. Connection to the person next to me. Yes, I totally feel that. Some people are saying a mime. 2 people said a mime. Nice. I wish everyone's screen looked the same so that way we were touching the same people.
Yeah. Maybe we can make adaptation to Zoomlandia someday. Okay, so at this point, we're gonna do an activity where we're gonna go to groups of 2. We break you out, and in this activity, what we ask you to do is, as we said, we want to feel comfortable as a community and in our Zoom box. And what we want you to do is each of you are going to tell the other person, what would you need in your Zoom box to make you feel more comfortable? What do you want to invite into your Zoom box? And it can be anything, yes? And because at the end of the day, you also want to use it also to learn about you. So what is it that you need to make it more comfortable? And the other person listens, and then this is what they do. They make a box like this and draw for the other person how their Zoom box should look like based on what they told them. So we'll give 4 minutes, 2 minutes to each person. So while your partner talks, you already start drawing their Zoom box for them, and then you switch. And then when you come back, we will gonna all share our wishes for a Zoom box. So is it clear? Oh, okay. I hope it's clear because we already have breakout rooms. If someone has a question.
Can I see your box again?
Yeah, just draw, I'm not like I just made like a, forgot the name in English, but, and okay. So
wait, are both people taking turns drawing a box for each other? And then how much time do we have for this? Okay.
I didn't see anything pop up with a room for me.
Do you wanna talk it through together?
Okay,
Me? Sure. Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
get a breakout room invitation.
I'm so uncomfortable with my blind still, Stacy. So this is
Okay, so
you talk, and I'm gonna
do you want
have
to talk first?
Okay.
Sure. So I'm sitting in a bedroom right now.
Yeah.
And, so I think my ideal room would have a large window somewhere out into, I'm in Oregon right now, so like seeing the beautiful trees and seeing nature. I would have some sort of a plant right here, nice and green, maybe dangling down. I would have some sort of a music player next to me as well. And maybe a little spot for my dog. He's a black, looks like a retriever.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, and a Starbucks right here next to me.
A coffee, yes. I love that. So I would do something very similar. I would do I would want to be outside where the ocean, I could see the ocean. It might not be visual to the people, but it's visual to me. And I've got the blue sky, but I'm kind of under an umbrella, so I'm a little shaded. I've got my, let's see. So I'm supposed to be drawing what you said, right?
I know it's hard to do both.
It is hard. Okay, so then, let's see, blue sky above, and just kind of the breeze coming through.
I hear you. Look what I have so far. You see it? I have your glasses and your hair with the part. I have the happy sun. Well, you have to be in it. The calm, the trees.
I am not a very good.
I got some grass and flowers to make you comfortable. Good. You happy? You happy with it?
So keep going. What else would you have?
Okay. I
think I would have a box of chocolate-covered almonds. So I could have
So in
a
my
snack.
work space over there, I have windows, and light, and there's no net. Well, there's windows up there.
What else?
You can't open them.
This is what I drew. I was trying to show that you were like kind of like, here's the deck in front of you. And then this is supposed to be a window that's reflecting the sea and a cloud and then your umbrella.
Oh my gosh. You are so creative. What grade do you teach?
I teach 4th grade.
Oh, I was in 4th grade. Isn't that the best year?
Yeah, I really do think it's my favorite grade.
All that calc.
Is there anything else I can add to yours? I'm drawing a blank of what.
So yeah, so I had the umbrella. I had a big glass of water with lemons in it would be great. And sort of the breeze coming through.
I don't know how to draw the breeze.
And I kind of put you, I guess you're in a window. You're not outside. So the plant I'm gonna put here. You're way more creative, but there you are.
No, it looks good.
I love this. But you're kind of in where you're asking to be. If you're in Oregon, could you put yourself in that place?
Yeah, I could. I'm just staying out of the way of all the other people that I'm with right now.
Yeah.
Like I'm here with my friend and her kids, and so I'm trying to be removed, but I could go sit outside for sure.
Yeah. That's so great. All right, I'm going to bring people back in.
Okay.
Thank you. What was your first name?
Yeah, Amy. I've been emailing with you, Amy Holt. Hi.
Hi, Amy. I was like, I recognize you. It's good to see you too.
Video. And then who's next?
I don't know.
Next together.
I don't know if anyone's going to be next.
Okay, is everyone?
Hi, Lucy.
Okay. Yeah. I liked breakout room number 3. It was inspired and tired together. Okay, so if everyone can hold what they create, the Zoom box they design for their partner based on their partner needs to feel comfortable. And let's see what we have. Okay. So everyone, what do we, and everyone, if you want to open up your mics and just say, what do you notice? Different, what do we have commonalities? What places they are very different?
You can't put it in the thing and see everybody's.
Oh yeah, we need to figure
Right.
Peek around.
Peek.
Yeah,
I'm
peek.
seeing lots of nature and environment.
A lot of people are outside.
Mm-hmm.
See, lots of people have beverages with them.
Coffee.
Ooh, some music.
Yeah, we got inspired by the music here. Yeah.
Nice.
I noticed everybody that added a person has them smiling.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, some added more people to theirs.
Mhm. I love that one person wanted to be like rolling around on a carpet. I think that's amazing.
Cool.
Yep, right there.
Nice job.
Happy. They're happy. Yeah. Cool. So we're gonna end this exercise with, I don't know if people had a chance to bring something green and something red. Yeah, or if you just see it, find ones. So we are trying something new here. And so we wanted to ask question and tell you that if one answer, you put the green, the other answer, you red, and try to put it as much as like, you know, I managed to now fill up my whole box, but I also want to make sure that you see that it's green or that it's red. Sometimes it takes the camera some time to get adjust to it. So, you know, it can be also like this. We'll try to fill up the box. So we're just trying it. And if this exercise raised your level of energy, you're gonna put the green. If it lowered it or didn't change it, please put red, okay? So let's see. Okay. So we have a lot of green. I don't see everyone.
Can you repeat the question? I'm
Question
distracted.
is that if this exercise make your level of energy higher, put the green. If it lowered your level of energy, put red. Okay. Okay. Another question. If you are K to second grade teacher, put the red. If you are third and up, green. If you're all of them, choose one. Okay. So now we have more mix. Yeah. Okay, cool. So this exercise is also connected to what we call data visualization, where we can just look by colors and get answers. But let's take it even to a level and say, if you're likely to, so this is called the level, okay? Here is not likely at all. This is I might, and this is for sure, okay? Do you see my box? I'm getting up. So if you think that you're not likely to use this or a modified way of this exercise with your student, put it low. If you might do it, and if you're most likely, then put it up. And you can choose whichever color. And let's see. Okay. Grateful Eileen. I'm curious if how the box for you is a up or a low. Okay. Nice. Cool. So thank you everyone for exploring together the Zoomlandia. And we're going to reflect on this and the other activity at the end. Have time because normally what would be best is to go to groups and reflect on this one, but we will do another part of our presentation and we'll give everyone the ability to reflect on both at the end. Is this fine? Okay, so I need back the slides. And I also want to be mindful of the time. And if I want to say something that we probably will not have the time to do all the inquiry, but since we are also doing the other activity afterwards, we'll take probably 15 minutes to finish this one after the break. So the next slide. Okay, so this one is now the kickoff of the phenomena of this week, which is the river otters and the inquiry about the watershed. Okay, so today we are gonna only concentrate on the part of the inquiry of asking questions and creating overarching questions to investigate. Throughout the week, you will have other sessions where you take it further, okay? Go next. So please take your notebook or a piece of paper and take a moment to jot down. You can use the mind mapping tool that Willow taught and us yesterday, or any other way that you feel comfortable with. Just take 1 minute to write anything you know about river otters. Yes, and if one of the things you can share on the chat, but first just write to yourself, and then one thing, please share on the chat. Okay. If you made a mind map and you want to share it with people, you can put it in front of the camera, or you can put one of the things in the chat and we will read some of them.
They make the cutest smacking sound when they eat. It's nice. Thank you. They are playful.
Oh, I see a mind map.
They're smaller than sea otters. They use rocks to break open shellfish.
Okay. These are super interesting. I really want to see how they break out. Oh, yeah, we have Distracted, because I don't know your name, but you are, it says Distracted. You want to open the mic and share?
She created her own Zoom room.
Oh, wow. Super cool. I see some clouds in the Zoom room. Nice. Okay, so now we'll move to the next slide. And okay, so what will happen now is that, as you see, some of you know more about river otters, some more interest, have more knowledge, some have less. And I wanted to tell you that even in Marine, in our backyard, there are some river otters. And what we're gonna do now is that I'm gonna share with you two things. One is a map from 1995 and some information. And then afterwards, I'm going to show you a video. And what we ask you to do is to write, you can write while I show both of them, or you can wait to the end. We encourage you to write while you're doing it, while we're showing. And please use the tool of I notice that we used yesterday, I wonder, and tell me more. You can also start thinking about the questions that you have based on looking on these map and video, using what Dawn taught us just before. And since we are in 11:24, when we will come back, then we will go to breakout rooms, and we together in our group will populate a Jamboard with all the questions that we have, and we'll sort them to questions we want to investigate. Okay? So let's go to the next slide. I notice, I wonder, and tell me more. So this is a range map that shows in pink the 1995 known range of river orders in the state of California. This is where the state of California back then thought river orders live. So think, what do you notice? What do you wonder? What do you want to know more? Looking at a map. So let's continue. Yeah, so now we have a star there. So I want to tell you that since 1995, and mostly in the past 8 years, people who are like kayaking or walking around, but also scientists, started to make observation of river orders in other places. And one of these places, I think we know, or maybe it looks to you familiar, is where the green star is. So what do you notice? What do you wonder now? What kind of questions you have? And we will move now to, I want to show you an example of an observation that was taking where the star is by scientists. And we'll go to the next one. This is a video, and let's all watch the video. Okay, I guess they came to our Zoomlandia. So what questions do you have now after watching the video? And we will come back from the break, and we will then go to breakout rooms where we share all our questions and sort them out.
Thank you, Sagit. And I love how you respected the time, and I know that this wasn't where you wanted to end, so incredibly thoughtful that you're giving us our break time. How many applaud for Sagit? All right, but then come back right at 1:15 so that she can get started, my friends. Does that sound fair? Sagit, I love those otters. Thank you. All right, my friends, we'll see you after lunch, okay? Go outside, get some fresh air, jump up and down. Allie, your little girl is so cute.